that they're willing to go to an election?
I don't think they have a choice.
Ask a version of this so you can answer, Nate.
I figured you might.
If it is true that a TV ad, that you were close to a deal exchanging term sheets, and a TV ad caused all of this to be canceled, halted, Trump does not want to meet, are you upset at Premier Doug Ford for running this ad? If this is true that this ad spoiled something that was very close?
Look, I'd say the following, which is that in any complicated, high-stakes negotiation, you can get unexpected twists and turns, and you have to keep your cool during those situations. It doesn't pay to be upset. Emotions don't carry you very far. And we had made progress, to repeat. And we stand by the progress that had been made, the Government of Canada does, and we are ready, when appropriate, to pick that up. And I'll just re-emphasize that it is the responsibility of the Government of Canada to have these negotiations. And others will have opinions, and others welcome free advice, unsolicited advice is entirely appropriate. Every Canadian is a stakeholder in these negotiations. Every Canadian is a stakeholder in the fact that we're making progress in ASEAN, that we have the agreement with Indonesia, that we have just decided to accelerate trade talks with the Philippines, with ASEAN as a whole. Every Canadian has...
Okay, so I'm going to cut him off right there, and you're going to thank me in a second, because the question was about Doug Ford and the ad campaign that was just launched using Ronald Reagan, right? And you might be wondering, well, Doug Ford and Mark Carney are buddies, right? Like, they're buddies. They stayed up late at night after Mark Carney won the election, and they solved world problems sitting by Doug Ford's fire. True statement by Doug Ford and confirmed by Mark Carney. So did Mark Carney know about the ad? Did Mark Carney know that Doug Ford was going to launch a Ronald Reagan misrepresentation of tariffs ad in America? So propaganda. Did our prime minister know that this was going to happen? I have the answer.
You talked to the Prime Minister about this, and he was pretty measured in Malaysia today.
Sure.
About you and about this situation. But how are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things strained now because of what's happened?
Not at all. He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his chief of staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished. It was done. They're talking about it in the U.S., and they weren't talking about it before I put the ad on. So I'm glad that Ronald Reagan was...
Did you guys hear that? Did you hear that?
What's happened?
Not at all. He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his chief of staff.
He saw the ad before I put it out. Mark Carney approved the Ronald Reagan tariff ad that cost $75 million. It was all part of the plan. This wasn't a coinkydink. This wasn't a mistake. Mark Carney knew this was confirmed demolition. He knew that this would happen. He approved the ad right out of Doug Ford's mouth.
He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his chief of staff.
He saw the ad before I put it out, and so did his chief of staff. I think we're being taken as fools because these people know what they're doing. They've got confirmed demolition happening. They're doing this on purpose. And then they're going, what? What do you mean? Why would Trump react this way? We don't know what's going on. And they're trying to gaslight us. And they're trying to say, Trump is overreacting to an ad and temper tantrum Trump or whatever. Bro, they knew what they were doing. Canada knew what they were doing. The prime minister knew what they were doing. And they specifically were hoping for some form of outcome like this. Because what else would you expect? For Trump to just laugh about it? Oh, you got me. You're right. No, of course. Of course Trump would retaliate against Canada. They knew this would happen. Now, I don't understand the bigger picture as to why Canada would want to punch itself in PP, in the wiener. I don't understand. But Mark Carney knew. So yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. Maybe it's posturing for an election, because the harder Trump is on Canada, the more people are afraid and angry with Trump, and the more likely they're to vote Liberal. So it's self-sabotage for the purpose of gaining something, right? Because let's be honest, like objectively, of course, I wanted the Conservatives to win in the election. I voted for Pierre, and I got a lot of people to vote for Pierre. I use all my platforms to go Pierre, go Pierre, go Pierre. But the Conservatives are not winning when it comes to fighting against Donald Trump. And this is even admitted by Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, on one of his recent podcasts, literally said that Pierre Poilievre had the election in the bag. It was good to go, word for word. That's what Joe Rogan said. And then Trump came in, and Trump handed the election to the Liberals. So that's the thing, is Trump wants the Liberals in, even though they're fighting right now. And the Liberals are good at fear-mongering against Trump, but they all get along. So this was part of the plan to make Canada more angry with Trump and say, we need to fight back. We need to fight back. Whatever the hell that even means, we need to fight back. So that if and when an election does happen in the very near future, the Liberals will have even more of a chance to win their majority government, because Trump bad, right? Trump 10% tariffs on us for an ad that only Doug Ford knew. Well, no, Doug Ford didn't only know about it. Also, Carney knew about it. This is part of a plan. It's weird, man. It's very, very weird. So what does Trump have to say about Canada? Well, let's have a look now.
Prime Minister Mark Carney likely won't get a chance to mend fences with U.S. President Donald Trump anytime soon. That is this morning's breaking news. Trump is saying again this morning that he won't meet with Carney to talk about his decision to break off trade talks. And Carney says he hasn't reached out to Trump either.
The president and I have not spoken since he took this decision. We are ready to have discussions when the Americans wish to have those discussions. But we're not, obviously, we don't dictate the timing of that.
Carney faced question after question about trade talks with the U.S. as he wrapped up an international summit today in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The questions included whether Canada should pursue talks with the White House and if Trump is even interested in making a deal with Canada. Carney and Trump will both be taking part in another international summit later this week. And Trump himself is making it clear that he will continue giving Carney the cold shoulder.
Whether it's provincial or Canada itself, they all knew exactly what the end was. The Prime Minister knew, everybody knew. The Prime Minister knew what the end was before it went.
Will you see him in APEC? Do you want to meet with him?
I don't want to meet with him. No, I'm not going to be meeting with him for a while. No. I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada. We're going to let it ride.
That is Trump speaking to reporters on Air Force One earlier this morning. There is a lot of cabinet noise there, or cabin noise, but Trump is saying that he has no plans to meet with Prime Minister Carney at an upcoming summit this week in South Korea, and that he would, quote, let the existing deal with Canada ride. He added no new details to his threat to add another 10% to the tariffs hitting Canada. Rafi Boudjikanian is traveling with Prime Minister Carney. He tells us Carney's news conference this morning was the first time reporters have been able to ask him questions since Trump broke off trade talks with Canada on Thursday night.
We learned that Prime Minister Mark Carney himself has no idea where this additional 10% in tariff hikes could go. That was in answer to one of my questions. He said, you know, we don't
know if it's auto sector. We don't know if it's agriculture. We don't know if it's steel and aluminum. We don't know if it's dairy. We have no idea. It could be a blanket 10%, nothing, but it's lingering there until it's going to be strategically used, probably to give the Liberals even more of an advantage should there be an election happening very, very soon. This is crazy. Crazy. Canada is just so wacky right now.
don't have any details on that. He also said that he has not spoken to Donald Trump since the news of the trade talks breaking off. I did note that when one of my colleagues asked, have you tried reaching out to him? Have you tried texting him, for example? Because we have been told in the past by the Prime Minister's office that he and Donald Trump tend to text. So he kind of sidestepped that aspect of the question, just focused on the fact that they have not spoken. Numerous times he said, I'm ready to resume talks when the U.S. are inclined to do so, kind of putting the ball back in the court of the United States. Earlier today, Donald Trump, on his way to Japan, Trump, of course, is also in this part of the world right now, said aboard Air Force One that he's not interested in speaking to Canada for a very long time, and that he's quite happy with the deal that Canada and the U.S. have right now. One of my colleagues asked him, how did your relationship with Donald Trump go south? Because, we've seen Mark Carney go to the Oval Office. We've seen him be quite chummy with the U.S. president. We've seen them exchange pleasantries. We've seen Trump say, Carney's a good guy, that kind of stuff. Carney kind of said, you should ask Donald Trump that question, or that's a question for Donald Trump. I'm paraphrasing him here. So I thought that was an interesting response from the Prime Minister. Of course, a lot of the emphasis for Canada during this trip is how it wants to diversify its trading partners. All of Carney's talking points before we got the questions were about his trip to Malaysia, about how he wants to reach a free trade agreement with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, by the end of next year. He suggested, in answer to the questions about Trump, that the instability with the United States is one more reason for Canada to be reaching out.
It's all very weird right now, the instability with the United States and Canada. And the weirdest part of it all is that I think that Trump and Carney are working together. That's the craziest part. Trump likes Carney. Carney likes Trump. We've seen this. They text each other. They're good buddies. But it's all coming at the expense of you and I. And it's all very bizarre what's going on. It's very, very bizarre. And that's not the only bizarre thing. Like, the Green Party is now, well, I'm not going to quote Elizabeth May. We're just going to take a look at what Elizabeth May just said moments ago. She's got some words. She's got some fighting words. Here we go.
It's not a threat. It's a description of parliamentary process. They're a minority government. They have no right to pass a budget. We haven't read it yet. I've made it very clear to this government that I will not vote for any budget that includes fossil fuel subsidies. That's my one condition. Otherwise, I haven't read the budget yet, so I haven't decided how I'm going to vote.
Who could support this?
What's that?
Who could support this budget? Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
Well, no one's read it yet.
But is there a world in which, let's say, there's abstentions, or some people decide to not vote, for instance?
Well, who knows? The deals are done all the time between political parties that have a minority of the seats in Parliament. Budgets pass in minority parliaments. The last since, certainly since the 2019 election, we were in a minority parliament. Every year's budget passed. We know that there was a specific confidence and supply agreement between the Liberals and the New Democrats, but there's often different dancing partners and different negotiations take place. They haven't had to negotiate with me. I'm one vote, but they know that I will not vote for a budget that includes fossil fuel subsidies. So it makes it easier for them to say, well, we'll get that one vote from the Greens if we make sure we're not subsidizing fossil fuels, which was a promise that, after all, Stephen Harper made in 2009, that Justin Trudeau made in 2015. I don't think it should be too hard for Mark Carney in 2025.
What do you make of Government House Leader Steve McKinnon?
So it doesn't sound like the Green Party, Elizabeth May, with her one seat, is going to be voting for the budget. So we've got the bloc that's saying, no, we're not going to vote for the budget. We're not going to support the budget. There's not enough for Quebec. We've got Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, who I'm only going to assume are not going to vote for the budget. If they did, I mean, I would be completely blown away. So and Elizabeth May is now saying that she's probably not going to vote for the budget. If there is, it could be 99% things that she agrees with, but there could be one thing that if there's anything that's pro oil and gas in there, she wants nothing to do with, and she'll vote it down. So this all stems now on the NDP. Again, just like Trudeau, right? Just like Justin Trudeau, we're having a Liberal and NDP potential coalition. Oh, my goodness.
Called out the Conservatives and the Bloc, but he's been he hasn't said anything about the NDP. What do you think about the NDP supporting the budget and being the only party to support it?
Well, I think that's up to the New Democrats. Again, it's very hard to answer questions about a document we haven't read yet. So far, every horrible thing that's happened to me as a Green since Mark Carney became Prime Minister has been decisions of the Liberals with the complete support of the Conservatives. So I don't know which way the government will turn for support for the budget because I don't know what's in the budget. And I don't think anyone does. And I have to hope for the best. I really hope for the best.
Would you be prepared to go to an election before the holidays?
I'm not prepared to betray my granddaughter's future by voting for fossil fuel subsidies, no matter the cost in terms of politics. Some things are more important than politics, and my granddaughter's future is top of my list.
Do you have any concerns about hearing the government House leader say?
So that would probably include a pipeline. So if there's anything that's pro-pipeline in the budget, Elizabeth May is saying, you know what? I can only assume hippie granddaughter, if she's the granddaughter or related to Elizabeth May, and that's not a derogatory sense. I consider myself a hippie. I lived in a van for 5 years, but I have a little bit more logic, it seems, for Canada and the prosperity of Canada in terms of making money than what Elizabeth May does. Pipeline and oil and gas is not bad. Okay. It's actually very good. And it's what we're sitting on. We've been dealt a set of cards. Where we were born geographically. We could have been born in Saudi Arabia. We could have been born in Africa, but we were born in Canada, and Canada has land already established. And underneath that land, there's some goodies. Now, most countries have their own set of goodies. Canada's goodies is oil and gas. That's right. We got a lot of it. We got a lot of goodies sitting under our land. Just so happens that we were born here. Now we can choose to actually use it and make a shit ton of money and become like a very wealthy country, or we can keep doing what we're doing, which is becoming a poorer country. I don't know, man. If you had the choice between being rich and poor, I think most people would choose being rich. All these politicians have chosen rich. Look at their pensions, right? No matter what they say, they're all getting paid insane amount of money with insane subsidies, with insane perks, and they're deciding our futures. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's bananas. Elizabeth May could, my goodness. There's something going on with the green hippy dippy mindset these days. The plague.
That they're willing to go to an election?
I don't think they have a choice. People should refresh memories. I know it was a long time ago, but the 1979 budget fell, and it famously fell, as they say, because the Conservatives couldn't count. But Joe Clark went to a budget vote. I just recently saw a play called 1979 that's quite brilliant about that vote. But nobody threatened we're going to go to an election if you don't pass our budget. That's what happens. If you fail on a confidence vote, the government falls. Now, there's other things that can happen in a minority parliament, even if the government falls. You can negotiate a confidence supply agreement to avoid an election. There's things that happen. We're in a minority parliament. There is no one all-powerful player here. We have to work together. That's a good thing for democracy. So I hope that and even after a budget is presented, there can be amendments to a budget. We'll forget these things. So we can work together, I hope, if the budget is presented.
Yeah, she talked about watching a play as she's talking about the budget. You know, I just saw Les Miserables, and I feel like I understand the state of Canada more than ever. I feel like everybody in Canada is miserables. What the fuck? I just saw a theater play, and I'm going to relate that to multi-billion-dollar deficit budget. You can't make this up. You can't make this up, man. This is so funny. Oh my God. Because if you're not laughing, you're crying. I'll tell you that. If you're not laughing, you're crying.
Has a poison pill that means one or more parties can't vote for it. The government has the option of taking that out and representing a budget that they think they can get through. We're in Parliament. And it's not so much threats, it's reality. And if they don't have the votes, they shouldn't go to a vote until they have the votes. And that involves negotiation and compromise.
Another subject. I know we spoke to Minister Hodgson this morning, and he said any talk of a pipeline on the West Coast is hypothetical. What do you make of this?
Well, there's no proposal from any private sector investor. No private sector investor could make its money back. It's absurd to throw money at nuclear reactors, which the government apparently will throw $2 billion at a project that'll never, but unlikely to ever generate a kilowatt of electricity, but never mind. Some projects seem to attract money. I think we need to examine all government expenditures for value for money, and we need to examine all of what we do as a country with a lens for our future generations and what does this mean for climate. But certainly anything would be hypothetical when it's not proposed.
Government has been pushing for a pipeline. Mr. Hodgson said he was ready to work to try to attract a private investor. So are they stuck between a rock and a hard place right now? Because
I think talk to
America's
investors.
going to end up funding that pipeline.
The global money isn't going to pipelines. It's going to renewables. No matter what Danielle Smith says, and no matter how much she's prepared to lose money in Alberta, canceling private sector investments in renewables, the future is in renewables, not fossil fuels.
Look at that face.
So much.
Thank you, merci.
Thank you, merci.